situations. I mean, it was very embarrassing. Not being able to use the bathroom was crazy. You talk about a humbling experience being a young male that couldn't physically walk. You know,
Yeah.
that changed a lot for my mentality because I feel like from the beginning, was my spinal fluid wasn't regulating because of the tumor, and it had grew tremendously in a short period of time. Like it tripled in size. Paid the bills for this month, I'm good. But no, it's that's not the case now. Now it's that we're gonna go it all the way, every single month, all the way, max our true potential. Hey, this is Ruwan G, and this is my story.
Tell me what's your story. I would like to know.
The biggest thing was like 2 years ago. I woke up and I just couldn't stand up straight. Right, it was like one of those things where like I'm a mobile dude. I love to go work out. I'm physically active, and that's what I need to do per day to feel like the day has been accomplished. And not being able to walk, waking up, it was like not something I can just push under the rug. I was hurting for almost 6 months, and we couldn't really figure out what was wrong. I went to my PCP and I got wrongfully diagnosed as a SI joint inflammation, saying that it was like my groin because I was feeling it around there. And fast forward, right? Being young, I guess I bounced back, is what the doctors say. That's the only reasons why I was able to like walk again and actually work out. I was lifting at the same time when I was dealing with still having some pain, but not like drop foot like I was experiencing during the bad time.
Yeah.
So fast forward like a year later, boom, we get in a car accident. We're in Florida. Somebody rear ends us. It took that for me to get an order for an MRI. So I finally get an MRI, and the MRI shows that there's spacing in my spine. So immediately they're like, my chiropractor said, you got to go to MUSC Cancer Center. So I'm over here hit with the whirlwind. I'm thinking, was this what was happening then? And I didn't know, and it's grown. So, not even trying to live in the past, but it kind of affected me a little bit because I didn't get to really, figure that out ahead of time and catch it. So it wasn't as bad. And then I fell through the hoops again. I went to the cancer center. They're like, you're young. We'll monitor it. You're walking. So like you bounce back from it. Well, it didn't take that long up until like these past like 4 to 5 months. Started experiencing headaches, and my back was starting to hurt again. It was flaring up big time where I couldn't walk, and I was getting these like crazy nerve pain spasms. And like I was like, this feels like I'm dying. Like I don't feel like I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And then the headaches got so bad that I got an MRI, and it didn't show anything yet. Fast forward to a couple months later, right when it was December, I fell at the house twice, and then my fiance said enough's enough. Called the family, took me to the Grand Strand because I passed out, and I didn't really know why that was happening because the headaches were so overwhelming. I was throwing up, and really what was happening was my spinal fluid wasn't regulating because of the tumor, and it had grew tremendously in a short period of time. Like it tripled in size. So they were saying, okay, you have to be immediately operated on. And I'm going from like being at the house to passing out, waking up at Grand Strand. They say that they checked my heart rate. It was 30. I almost passed away. They, within 10 minutes, drill a hole in my head to get the drainage for the fluid so that I could be okay. And now I have this external line on my head, foreign object. I'm over here freaking out about it. But they had me on some medication. If not even an hour later, a helicopter comes to take me to MUSC. So never been on a helicopter in my life. And now I'm like laying flat in this short space. And I'll never forget the helicopter dude was like, he had like a Batman kind of vibe to him. And he said it, and he had like a mask that was like a Batman mask that he put on. It was so weird, but so cool at the same time because he made me feel comfortable. Because I was like not comfortable at all. Like I was scared. I was still hurting because this thing was still in my back. So I couldn't lay down flat. And here I am now having to lay down flat in a helicopter for like an hour and change until I go get emergency surgery.
Yeah.
Surgery was 11 hours on my back, my spine. Before going in, it was Miss Sefchek. Bless her heart. She's a new surgeon at MUSC in Charleston. She broke it down, and so did a couple other people, her assistants. They're like, you most likely are not going to be able to walk. You most likely are not going to be able to use the bathroom. You most likely are not going to be able to reproduce. There's all these things that are going to happen, and we sought to God. Like everybody in the family, we asked family and friends to just pray. And, I woke up and I was able to, in the beginning, not move this at all. This leg had no function, my right leg.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see I'm walking right now. So it's a blessing, right? And I think that we talked about the mental thing. That's what really came into it. Like having a support system during that time, being in the hospital for more than a month, that gets to you, and a lot of things happened in my body since then, I still deal with issues like with bladder issues. Now I still have 10% of the tumor in my spine. they didn't remove all of it. That's why I have function. They made the executive decision to not remove all of it, remove 90%, let me heal. I had to go to rehab here, in-house rehab. And then I had home health, and I graduated from that recently, and now I'm doing outpatient therapy, like what Kite's doing.
Yeah.
And we express the difference with outpatient too, because it's like it's challenging you. At home they just want to make sure you can walk around the house, but outpatient's where they like put me to work. That's what's necessary to get back to it. Being a fit person, no pain, no gain. You have to go through the pain, but nerve pain is different. So doing the basic things, it hurts a lot different than what it would with fatigue. I can tell the difference between the fatigue and the nerve pain.
And actual pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't like taking medication now. So while I was in the hospital, I was just trying to avoid the things that are being pushed on you. And I get it's in a medical field, right? So fentanyl, hydros, all these things, that's like a part of the process when you go through a major surgery. But we know what comes from that, right? And I don't have an addictive personality, so I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about just putting it in my body and the side effects that were occurring. Because if you already have bowel issues, what happens when you take majority of medication? Constipation is one of the things
side effects.
Yep. So I had to think about that, and it was more of a mental battle now. So now I'm like, okay, how can I avoid this pain by thinking and focusing on maybe working, keeping up with everything. And I'm in school at this whole time. I'm online school, and I'm doing a national security and law degree. So all it is just reading, right? So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna read as much as I can. Anytime that I'm starting to feel like pain's coming, I'm gonna start reading something and try to offset it, and it would help. And so I didn't have to take crazy medication, because they were trying to put fentanyl on me immediately after the surgery. And for 2 weeks, because of my drain, they had to keep me flat. And it's crazy when you're in the medical field, they're like, they don't think anything of it, but being the person that's stuck for 2 weeks flat, I couldn't even eat. I had to sit down and eat like that. It was crazy. One of the most humbling experiences,
I bet. I know in the beginning you said you woke up and then you couldn't move, you couldn't really walk.
Yeah.
And they thought it was a flare up in your groin area.
SI joint.
When did you get back right, as you were saying? When did you get back to yourself after that initial thing? How long did it take?
That was I would say 6 months. I was in the bad position for 6 months, and then all of a sudden, I woke up one day and I was able to walk straight. It was weird. In a situation like that, it just happened. They pay homage to being young. They're like, because you were fit, and you're young, you were able to bounce back, right? But only for a matter of time, because it could grow.
Yeah.
So whatever it may be, there's been a flare up for our age. They stated that there's been more tumors grown specifically with the spine within the 30 to 40 year range. And it's crazy to think, because there was a lot more people that have dealt with that were there at MUSC.
Yeah.
So I could relate to different people on this. It's come out of nowhere. No pre-existing issues at all.
Yeah. That's even crazier. I'm sitting over here listening, trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
Low key, because it's just hard for me to think one day, before the interview, we were just playing basketball, working out, I got to do the thing tomorrow. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what if I just wake up and I couldn't do the stuff I love? You know what I'm saying? How did you feel emotionally? I'm pretty sure you was super overwhelmed when you got that MRI and it was oh, now you got to go do this. Oh, now you got to go do this. What was your mind going through? And how were you? Did you stay calm? Did you kind of freak out a little? Did you cry? Did you have to vent to someone?
Oh yeah, I think that's important to be real about. Crying definitely happened. Relationships with family grew, right? That's huge, because that's what Kite and I talk about. You get closer with your family through things like this, because it becomes more of a personal situation now. You need help using the bathroom, walking, showering, all those things, and you're trying to regain that confidence back in that, that mobility, that personal perseverance that you had from before. You got to go back to that mentality, and that's hard. I'd say I definitely had my emotional state a lot throughout the time when I was on more of the pain medication. And I realized that. I told them to stop giving me pain medication because I wasn't right in the mind. So doing real estate, I'm still having to make these calls while I'm in the hospital. I couldn't talk to these investors straight for more than 20 minutes without my mind getting weary and foggy with being on that medication. I'd forget. I wasn't paying attention. Same thing with family. I started realizing I wasn't really paying attention to them as much. And that sounds like enough's enough, because it's clouding my mentality and how I can be strong mentally and keep myself focused, Trying to keep up with the basics for what I did work-wise was easier, because I set it up to where it was more on the phone. A lot of work I do is on the phone. So
Yeah.
I'm blessed for that. And I
Thank- I'm about
realized
to say,
that by
thank
being
God
her.
for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank God for that. For
That you
real.
didn't have like a super physical job.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
We have a car rental business, and my fiance, I pay homage to her. She took over everything. She, at a whim, whenever all this happened, she had to learn the whole business, manage our fleets, manage cars. Of course, at the time when I go in, cars start breaking down. You already know that's how it is.
When it rains, it pours.
Yep, it all comes at once. But
Yeah.
she took it on her shoulder. She was also in school too, going online, and she was doing that. She made I don't want to say wrong numbers, maybe 70 plus trips. Every day I was in Charleston for more than a month. They were driving back and forth, and she was, because my mom doesn't drive, and they just go back and forth. She made sure she was there for me. She brought Christmas to me.
Yeah.
So
bro.
you get closer to the people that you're with when all this happens. So that helps me my resilience. So it's not like I had that myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I pay homage to them more, because without them helping me with the business, with my mind, by just coming there, bringing me some food, something different than that horrible hospital food. That was bringing me life. That was bringing me life. Food was it. Food is it. Telling you, bro. Telling you.
And that's important. That I always love to highlight during our interviews, like support system, bro, because I feel like a lot of people take a lot of pride in or even sometimes even in the rap music or different type of music. Oh, I did it all on my own. I did it myself. We need each other, bro.
Yeah.
More than ever. We need each other to help each other, to motivate, to inspire, to push, to do better, to make our life better. So I always love to highlight that support system and how important that is, because you need the good people around you. Like what's that saying? Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
Your birds need to be aligned with something that you want to be, that's positive, or something that you're already doing that's positive. Because if you get around those birds that are negative, everything's gonna go negative. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And I just love to hear the interviews, and when people go through really tough parts of their life and they're like, oh, I got closer to my mom, I got closer to my dad. Just like you were saying, your fiance picked up the slack. She a real one, bro.
Yeah. Of course.
That's fire. That's something that people out here are looking for now. You don't know how much I be hearing about the dating scene.
Yeah. Oh,
and how terrible it is.
And it's not our fault either, right? We're being manipulated with all these dating apps and these
social media, the 20v1s, the pop the balloon challenges.
Yeah.
It's just everything's a facade, bro.
Exactly.
Everything's a facade. People are so afraid to just be themselves, Like Eric was saying in his mask off. A lot of people do wear masks. That's a real
That's
thing.
the whole dating scene. All the apps, you're putting on a mask. You're painting who you want them to think you are, right? For the majority of people.
Yeah.
There's not many people that are true to themselves, put it all out there,
Yeah.
And that pop the balloon thing is the same concept. We watch it and we die laughing, because it's like, yo, you're going to be biased on all these dudes. the majority of the guys, when they got a girl, they're popping the balloon right when she walks out.
Yeah.
They didn't even say nothing,
Facts. It doesn't even make sense, right?
No, it don't.
Bro, I call that brain rot TV.
Yeah.
It's entertaining, but
goes nowhere.
It's not good to watch long term.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
for
not.
Sure.
Because I feel like that do affect your brain.
Yeah, of course.
Keep watching that BS. That's just what it is.
But you know what? That's what pops. It's funny.
Yeah, it is entertaining.
Yeah.
It is entertaining. You just can't. I feel like you shouldn't oversaturate your brain.
Yeah. You saw Saturday Night Live did a remix of it, right?
Yeah.
So you see how doing something like that's not really, educational or fulfilling to people and helping them learn and grow. Doing something funny like that, that's what really pops, So that's the facade that's being created now.
Yeah.
Now it's we need to be doing that so we can get up there and get views and get notoriety.
Yeah.
You can't just be true, because being true was never really the status, right? Yeah, it wasn't the thing. Being true was weird.
Yeah,
right? But we're changing.
Yourself was weird too.
But it's changing. It's changing now. I feel like now majority of people with things like this, talking to people, being real with them, getting to know them, that there's value being exchanged in that aspect.
Right.
Every single person we meet, we can get some value from them, and it doesn't have to be tangible, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just from an experience and talking to somebody, you could go through life differently.
Hey, that's why we started where we started.
Yeah.
That also leads me to my next question. So, in your opinion, what's the biggest mental change from then till now? Did your thought pattern of how you used to think about things change? Of course, I feel like once it happened, you was like, I'm super grateful for everything now. You know what I'm saying? Because I know as humans, sometimes we get so used to things that honestly we forget about God, bro.
Yeah.
for real, because we're so caught up in our own thing. We forget to pray, we forget to read the Bible, we forget to be grateful and just appreciative, honestly. So what's the biggest thing that changed in your mindset from like before the accident until now? Before what happened until now?
Well, thinking about God and just religion, spirituality, right? That was huge. That's literally number one. I had to cultivate this kind of energy that could help fulfill my inner self and me being scared and nervous about what's happening. Providing for the family. Like when my dad passed away a year ago, I had to move my mom in with us. So the older place that you had came to was a starter home, and that was for me. So that was perfect. But when everybody was in there, to preserve their mentalities and them to be able to live and have their own space, we had to get a different place. And that put a lot of stress on me because of financials, right? So during the time before all this happened, I'm grinding in my head. And I hate to say it, but like when I found out about this, I was like, I have to do as much as I can right now before shit hits the fan to really be able to uphold what's here and not lose everything, but being out of work for 2 to 3 months, 4 months, however long it's going to be. And setting up stuff that has been residual was the biggest thing. So before all this happened, I tried to set things up to where when this did happen, that I could do business on the phones, investing in the right things to where I don't have to physically be out there. I can work from home and not be so much of a burden because I would need help to go places. Working a 9 to 5 wasn't going to work for me because I couldn't physically walk. That changed a lot for my mentality because I feel like from the beginning, having faith in what I was doing was definitely always there. But having more faith for yourself to put yourself on the line on something new, something different. That you have to do it. You got to jump. I jumped in some real estate investments with people, and some worked and some didn't. But I had to have the faith, right?
Gotta take that risk.
Yep. Got to take that risk. So I did that, and I ramped up the car rental business with my fiance. Thankfully, during that time, we were just able to keep it booking. Like I lowered rates, so we'll just be
keep the money coming in.
Yep.
Sure.
To keep it guaranteed. In my mind, I was like, we need to just make the payments like during this time because of how much it costs for the hospital bills, having them come back and forth. We had to do it that way. But I'm glad that the mentality definitely shifted and changed where, hey, I need to be a passive man now. So now I need passive income. I changed my mentality because of this. At any time, we can have an accident. We could have somebody fall sick. And I want to be able to be there to take care of them too. And also in this position to help myself while I can't physically go places, it was important. It was one of those things where I was like, okay, it's time to grow up. And in a sense, for my own mentality, for not taking the risk and working harder. Because, you want to just not do as much. It's like, okay, I made the bills for this month. I'm good, but no, that's not the case now. Now it's that we're going to go all the way every single month, all the way, max our true potential. I pay homage to this situation. It's definitely a humbling situation. It's made me rechange everything. You know?
I like that you said that because I wanna I think highlight gonna be my word for today. But I also do want to highlight like how important it is to be prepared for anything, bro. Because I don't know if you heard of that stat that came out not that long ago about Americans. They said I'm gonna just throw a number out there. I probably am wrong, but I think it said like 70 or 80% of Americans don't even have $300 in their savings. Like we're not prepared.
Yeah.
If that stat is true, I did see it on Twitter. You know how everybody know how Twitter is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if that is a true stat, bro, like being financially prepared for anything, I feel like is the most important. And just like you said, I feel like people get lax, bro.
Yeah.
Because I'm guilty of it. I'm pretty sure all of us in here are guilty of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I done made this for the month. My bills are covered. I got like 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever left over to spend.
That's it.
I'm about to spend. I'm gonna spend. This is my fun money.
Yeah.
People don't think about, okay, well, let me put this away. Some people do. Majority of people don't. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I did like the fact that you touched on that and you actually like explained what you did and how you had to push yourself to like, okay, are we in this situation now? All right, well, we're gonna ramp up the car rental business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love for people who gonna watch this to see that, bro. Because you gotta realize like people gonna watch this that's gonna be in the same position as you, and they're gonna be in the beginning stages where they just found out.
Yeah.
And I hope they see this and understand like, all right, it's not the end. My story is not over.
It's the beginning. That's what Kite and I talk about. This is the beginning.
Facts.
It's the beginning of a new story. And the new story will be painted a little differently, right? But I'm still gonna have essence of the original story.
Exactly.
Now I'm gonna hold true to who I was, but I could be a better person. from this
Exactly.
versus a negative person, because it's easy to be negative when you're dealing with pain, changes in your body. It's so easy to be. So anything medically, right, can really dwell on you. Like, and I've experienced that with people too. I think tying into what you had talked about with like, birds of a feather flock together. It's definitely true. You're a product of your environment. And I realized I had let go of certain people before all this really started going into effect in my brain, like November and December. And it happened for a reason, right? Like I was being pushed away because I wasn't feeling good before I had to go to the hospital and have the operation. I guess my body was knowing, okay, we have to get into this fight mode right now. Anybody negative, people bringing bad energy, I can't have them around me.
And
it's the truth, because there are a lot of complainers. There are a lot of people that say the same story all the time, and that's a majority of people, right? But there's not many people that have a new page and a pen every day ready to write what they want, right? Like this, I'm not accepting what has been dealt to me. I'm changing this. I'm going to write a whole new story. And no matter what keeps on happening, I'm still going to write that same story, because that's what I'm going to get. I'm manifesting that, and that's real. Like there's seldom people that are like that. That's why we connect. With Dollar, that's why we connected. With Kite, that's how we connected. I remember when we came here from Baltimore on the bus, I was at Planet Fitness. I remember my boy, Ian Melhorn, helped me become assistant manager there, and he was manager there. So he's like, yo, my homie's coming, and he's moving here from Baltimore. Came right off the bus, came straight to Planet Fitness, and I felt the connection. We were on the same page, right? He was writing a new story. He came here. He was ready to go, change himself. And I was at the same point in my lifestyle. I'm like, okay, it was corporate then. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ride this corporate wave. I didn't want to go to school then. I didn't really find the purpose of school, right? I'm 31 now and I'm in college, but it was the right time, and the time that I could afford it, because I didn't get scholarships. Like, I heard you said you got a scholarship. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
That means you did right in high school. I didn't. So I would have to pay out of pocket. It took time to get prepared to be able to do that.
No, that's real. That's real. And no, that's real, because the maturity level of when you're supposed to go to college, you really not.
What's the prerogative of college, man?
You know
party,
what
right?
I mean?
Meet people and party. For the most part.
Exactly, bro. And I didn't fully understand. Like, I'm gonna still go to school because I made my mama a promise. But now that I'm older and I understand how schooling works, I feel so bad I wasted my parents' money sometimes, bro. Because I had a scholarship.
Yeah.
I had a free ride. Bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was there and I lost my scholarship because playing.
Okay, I get it.
I wasn't mature enough. I just wanted to go to the party. I want to be around all the girls.
Yeah.
Well, I got to be in the cafeteria for fried chicken Friday.
There's one every day too. That's what people don't talk about. There's a party every day. There's like 3 or 4 parties every day.
Yes. So and we at the beach at the time. We at the beach,
even
bro.
Worse, bro.
Yeah, right. Like if it ain't a party going on campus, we can still just go to the beach and have a beach day.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of distractions. Time management is so key when you're doing things like that. And just the money, bro. The money.
I know.
It's like, it was a lot.
Well, the opportunity that's there is cool, because like if you think about it now, I regret at that time. I wish I had the mentality of like, okay, this is a business, and I'm paying to go to the school so I can get this network. What can I provide this network that could help me get money? And now I'm thinking about these kids that are in college, that are younger, that they know what these kids want, right? They know what these kids are spending money on, and they're starting things and they're blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it's a network. I mean, whatever college you go to, especially at Coastal, you meet so many people. So
many places. I was so shocked to go there and realize, like, it's like a bunch of people from New York, from up north in general, that know about Coastal. I was so shocked. Like, my roommates, one was from Boston, one was from Jersey, and one was from Maryland.
Nice.
And I was like, how did y'all even know about Coastal at all? Like,
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? But it was a dope experience.
I always hear like this is like the lower scale Cali, but that's kind of offensive. Like, it ain't. I feel like the Strand here is actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
I like the Strand. Like,
I heard Miami too. We like a lower scale Miami too.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that. Like the Strip, I definitely heard that before for sure.
I feel like it's a little different. Miami's definitely a whole nother vibe.
But I got the ballers out here. I ain't never been the ballers though. The ballers down.
There's just a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
A lot more money out there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I was looking at the exotic car rental game, and people that have started out there, they kill it, man. I mean,
they're in the right place.
They're in the right place.
That's why.
Seriously. A minimum $1,000 a day on these cars.
People want to go down there and flex. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're selling a course, right?
Yeah.
So all them boys on Instagram that are renting these Ferraris and taking pictures and these Lambos, they're willing to pay $1,500 for a day, 2 days.
That's insane.
It's insane. It's insane, and they're booked up. You know, you think about the average for these people. I was researching is 20 days booked up a month, right?
Yeah.
That is $20,000+ they're making off of a car, right? If the lease is like you put $50K down and you're paying your lease, and your lease is $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month at that, even if it's $3K a month, you're making 20. You're profiting 17.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, bro.
Insane.
Yeah, they got it down
They
there.
got it
They're
down
in the
there.
right spot.
For sure.
So I'm gonna go ahead and cut to the spirituality, because I know we've been talking about it throughout the interview. But how important is that spirituality, like, in your life, especially when you're trying to get through something rough? Because I know for me, I grew up in the church, kind of fell away from the church, but I'm working my way back into getting myself right with God once again. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the journey, you know, like, and I can tell the difference of when I don't pray in the morning to when I pray in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It is a difference. Your day go different. Your mindset is different.
Yeah.
So how important is that spirituality and just that faith? I think I really want to say that faith, man. Like, how important is that faith when you're really going through stuff? You know what I'm saying?
It's the foundation. It really is. You want to have a foundation that you can really build up on. Like, without faith, I don't think I would have been able to mentally take on any of this. Seriously. Because I wouldn't have believed in myself, believed in my family, believed in the people around me to be able to accept me for who I am as a different person now with everything that's going on. That was a huge one. Believe in myself to be able to do the things that I was doing and even try to excel and do other things. You know, without the faith, it would be nowhere.
Were you worried about people treating you different?
You know, it's like it being embarrassed in the beginning because, you know, I'm like stuck to a walker and a wheelchair, and you know, I broke that whenever I got back from the rehab. The girls, she has a stepbrother that lives here, her main brother, and then her cousin. All of them moved here from PA. So, and they're younger, so you know, they like to go out, and they're like, let's go to 810. And I was like, all right, we'll go to 810. And I got wheeled in a wheelchair while it was popping. It was the Super Bowl. So I'm going there in a wheelchair, and at that time I was like, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. Right? I got faith in myself, and then without me thinking of it, that moment I was able to stand up. I got myself up, and I stood up at the bar, and I stayed standing up at the bar. We put the wheelchair up, we folded it up, and put it up right beside us. So it's like in my head, without faith, I wouldn't have even thought to go out, right? But I had a great night. We had a phenomenal night. Like, and we ended up getting a seat. We got some food. You know, I got a drink for the first time, and I only had one because I'm on medication. Yeah. But one was enough. Yeah, I drank it the whole night. It was great. You know? But I wouldn't have went out if I didn't have faith. I would have been stuck at the house in the same mentality, like, oh, you know, sorry me. But, you know, yes, we all have that sorry me mentality. But how can we grow?
But you stay there. Don't get stuck there.
Yeah,
it's a dark place. And just not to cut you off, but even like when you said the medication, because I'm a believer of that too. I don't really like to take medication, bro. Like, I don't have to take medication for anything, but when I am sick or I'm feeling down, I don't really like to take medicine.
That's not your first, go-to.
Yeah, no. Sure. I do everything natural. I'll drink the tea. Yeah. You know, I drink tea. Yeah. I do everything like I got to be in crazy amount of pain to even think about taking a pill or something, because that's just how I am. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I do honestly believe in your story that actually really helped you, bro, because they help, but I feel like I can't. Sometimes I honestly don't know if they help more than they hurt, bro.
Yeah. See the full picture.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro.
Yeah. We're clouded. The best way I could say it is the people that I met, because I met a lot of people in the hospital being there, and some younger. It's clouding your perspective. So we don't even know that, okay, this pill that we're taking out of like 5 pills, this one and this one is affecting this, and this. That's making you have to take these other pills. So you're realizing, holy crap, like we're a whole world of just symptom relief, but we're not fighting the root cause. And everybody talks about that. Yeah, that's the story. But, you know, as people, we have to say no to these medications. We have to say, hey, try the herbal way. You know, my family, they drink tea. They always did that, right? That helps. There's so many teas that could help. You know, I mean, I remember as a kid, when I would get sick, I was scared to tell my mom because she would be boiling up some weird stuff in the pot, bro. I knew she would ask me to drink it. Some weird stuff, and it would taste horrible. And if you drank it, I swear to God, you'd feel better. Yeah. Happened every time, you know. like leaves, herbs, like certain types of sticks, whatever it is, like it's crazy. The answer is in the world. It's in nature, right?
Yeah.
We got the answer, but we just gone so far away from it,
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to rely on that in the beginning. That's what I had to. So there's like a tinkering area between like, don't have too much ego and think you can do it all on your own. Like you're saying, you still need a little bit of help. So like to even be able to work at all and like walk at all, I have to take some nerve medication.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to wean off that. Because, even with that, the nerve medication, that's like, I don't want to be long-term with that,
Yeah.
but I am going to take it if I know I have to do things throughout the day. If I have to walk, like just walking up and down the stairs is a lot,
Yeah.
So I have to have that balance where I'm like, all right, I'm not going to overdo it on pain medication, but if I need to take some small like nerve medication, I will, and that won't affect too much. There's not many side effects. I'm trying to go with the least amount of side effects for the things that I do want to accept into my body now that I have a choice.
Yeah. Facts. That's the most important, because I always laugh at the commercials, bro. They be like, "Oh, take this, you'll feel great." Side effects: nausea, heartburn, diarrhea, constipation.
Quick.
They say it real quick, so it's like, they try to bypass it, bro. Yeah, bro.
That's all I saw at the hospital too. I swear, I'm watching TV, and it would be like I felt like they were targeting me. They were. Shoot, is that my phone?
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even know your phone was over here. Oh, you good, brother? You good, bro?
I felt like they were targeting me.
Yeah.
They really were just like, yo, if you have bowel and bladder issues, take this. And at the very end could cause stroke, heart attack, and even death. Consult your doctor. I'm like, what the like, you're telling me this is supposed to help me and it can kill me? Like, that's not right, bro.
Yeah.
That is not right.
Nah, that's crazy. Nah, but like, what I love about your story, bro, you talk about your spirituality. You talk about that mental toughness that you had mental toughness before, but you had even pushed it to another limit. The doctor said you weren't going to be able to walk. When I pulled up, you greeted me outside walking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is a testament, bro. Like, for real, bro. It's crazy. I don't normally say this, but I really, like, my hair is standing up over here, low-key.
Bro, I appreciate it, man.
That's a testament, bro.
We're trying every day. That's it.
I'm
just not, like I was saying, I saw that get printed in my story, and I said, nah, I need to change it. I don't want to be this person. I need to be able to at least move a little bit,
Yeah.
Every day, mentally, I'm getting this leg to wake back up.
Yeah.
So anybody listening, that's like what I would want them to know is like what the doctors are telling you is not the end, right? Mm-hmm. You have the power within you to change and make a decision, but it has to happen then. When you get to the point where the doctor tells you that, this is the time to change right now. There's no other time, right? You got to make it happen when it counts. And that was it. Like just telling myself I'm going to be able to move, trying to move my leg, going through embarrassing situations. I mean, it was very embarrassing, not being able to use the bathroom was crazy. You talk about a humbling experience being a young male. You can't use the bathroom. You're relying on nurses to help you use the bathroom. That was wild. I'm over here being humbled every single day with new experiences, with new people coming in to help me. I know
that takes a toll on your mental like crazy.
It really does, bro. It really does. I feel so different because of it. I feel more connected with people because of it, because there was a lot of younger people at MUSC. It wasn't older people. And I realized that because of the college, there was a lot of young people there. So I'm thankful for that, because I met the most amazing nurses, man. Like they made me feel like I was a human being and not just another one of their patients that they would just do the bare minimum and leave. These people would like ask me if I was okay. Yeah. They would vent with me. They talked to me. If I broke down, I broke down with them, and I didn't feel alone whenever the family was gone. And that's huge.
That's how you can tell those. Shout out to MUSC and the people that dealt with you. That's how you can tell those people they're fulfilling their purpose. It's not just a job.
True.
It's not just a paycheck.
True.
They enjoy what they do, and they love helping people. Mm-hmm. So shout out to them for real, because a lot of nurses don't care.
I was telling the family to keep,
trust me, a lot don't care.
Cookies. I was telling them bring cookies, bring snacks, please, because these people deserve it.
Yeah,
they're busting their ass over here. I mean, that little call button on your bed, right? Like I know how many times I had to hit that had to be annoying, but to come in the room with the same kind of love and energy, right? Even after you just wipe old dude's ass and you got to come over here and deal with me, right? Yeah, it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and I learned that the aides, they don't even make as much as I thought they were. So I'm thinking the grunt of a lot of the work was the aides, not the nurses. They need more money. One of the girls told me like she had to get another job and her boyfriend had to do the same, and they had to, move out to like a better area because Charleston's super expensive. They're pushing everybody out. Mm-hmm. It's pushing people far, far away. And it's people that work at the hospital that are affected still too. you're taking care of people and you don't have enough money to take care of yourself, so you can even be near the hospital to work, and get to work.
Because if anybody know MUSC, is right in downtown in that congested area.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to them.
For
Well,
sure.
we're pretty much towards the end, really the end. If you got anything else positive, you dropped a lot of gems, but anything else positive, motivating that you feel like that can help others, just go ahead and say it into the camera, man.
Okay. Well, I feel like for everybody here in Myrtle Beach, I think it's important to know that there's more to it than just Myrtle Beach, and aspire higher. That's just the biggest thing I could say. Have faith and aspire higher. Know that you could do more than what you're doing at any time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that wraps up another episode of What's Your Story?
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
That's it, man.
Yes, sir.
Your Scar Show. Tell me what's your story. I would like to know.